Hey guys, my name is Attorney Walter Knott with Disability Resolution PA, and something just bit my leg. So what I wanted to talk about was something interesting. Ooh, it got me. Was something, I live in Florida, by the way. If you don't know that, then know this. The bugs that live in Florida they're kind of like vampires. They live forever. They just get bigger and bigger as time goes on, and they are fluent in other bug languages. Let's go to this interesting fact that I found that I thought was really interesting. So there's around 8 million people on SSI. Now, I thought for the longest time that people on Ssdi benefits was like a massive, larger amount of people than those on SSI benefits. There are around 8.2 million people on Social Security disability insurance benefits and around 8 million people on SSI benefits. And I just want you to think about that and why that's interesting. First, when it comes down to it, that is not a massive number like they make you think in the news. You know, where they're like, oh, there's only 3 people working to 1 person taking, and there's 4 people working to 2 people. You know, they always play that game of like how many people are working to pay for how many people that are taking. So it's not that many people. I understand that's a lot of people. Yes, I get it. But when you're talking about like the big numbers, that's not that many people. Another thing that I think is interesting is that the country is split between those people who essentially are working, you know, and these are all pre-retirement details. You know, it's all people who didn't take retirement or couldn't take retirement or could take retirement, whatever. These are all pre-62 to 65 to 67 to, you know, 70 for the max full. These are all pre-metrics for this consideration. What's interesting is that there's half, or let me put it this way. There's, like, out of 10, there's 5 people that are working and getting to go into Ssdi benefits. Now, remember, there's a lot of people that worked, and then they didn't work for a while, and then they're stuck with SSI. So you have to understand there's still more people that worked that obviously paid in of the Ssdi-SSI equation. But then look at the other metric, which is that around 8 million people didn't work or never worked or worked but then didn't file for SSI soon enough, or Ssdi soon enough, because they ran out of quarters of coverage. And what's interesting about that is that SSI is like the fallback. It's the fallback disability program. And most people don't think of it that way because they're like, oh, you know, it's the poverty disability program. But it's actually the fallback program. It's for those people who didn't work enough, you know, never worked, or worked a lot, but then didn't have 20 quarters of coverage within the past 10 years. That's the recency element. Ssdi has 2 main elements when it comes to quarters of coverage. You got to have enough, and you got to have enough recently. Recency, I think that's a word. I'm not even sure. The point is this. When it comes down to somebody going into Ssdi benefits, I thought there were way more people on that program. But then maybe that logic was flawed because it's harder to get onto Ssdi benefits than SSI benefits. Because SSI benefits, you have to be poor. Versus the other option of you have to have enough quarters of coverage. Being poor, you can not do stuff and not make money and then become poor. Because you can't work. Ssdi benefits, you got to work, you got to earn, you got to pay taxes, you know, blah, blah, blah. You got to do this stuff, which is obviously harder than not working. Now, I know some people can't work and some people get offended by the statement I just made, but that means you are a fragile person, and I love you dearly, but let's keep going. So the point is this, Ssdi benefits, which I thought there were way more people. I was expecting like 20 million people, 30 million people, 50 million people, whatever. I was expecting it to be way more. What I realized was that this program's actually harder to get onto because it has 2 elements that are, you know, you have to have worked and you're severely impaired. SSI is you have to be poor and you're severely impaired. But there's a kicker there. The one big kicker as to why there's not more people on Ssdi benefits, and there's slightly more, is that those people who did work, they either ran out of enough quarters of coverage or they just didn't work enough. So SSI is, in my opinion, especially with the economy and the devaluing of the dollar, going to continue to grow in size past the size of Ssdi benefits, which I just, you know, that is a new thought to me. I didn't think of that. You know, I'm not always looking at the metrics of like the big picture. Sometimes I'm too, okay, it's that one and that one, blah, blah, blah. And what I realized was that Ssdi benefits I thought there'd be way more people on it than SSI, but SSI, in my opinion, based upon what's going on in the economy, will overtake the SSDI people. Now, is this a good thing or a bad thing? That's another video, but that's just something interesting that I thought you should think about, that, you know, as how Congress addresses it, as how Congress looks at it. You know, we want to make sure that the SSDI people don't get left behind because they become a smaller and smaller and smaller minority of people on a program that is not being used as much as the SSI program. And remember, Congress likes to promote the idea of helping the poor and the homeless, etc., because that's their value signaling. That's how they signal to you that they're a good human being, even though they're all politicians. And if they weren't politicians, they would be civil rights activists, because politicians were originally civil rights activists, and then they became politicians because they essentially became ruined human beings. Yeah. Prove me wrong on that one, right? A politician. If we strip them from the title politician, they become a civil rights activist. So long as we strip from them the need to modify, manipulate, change, alter, derive the political game with their station. If we take that all away, we're just left with somebody who's fighting for human rights. Civil rights person. That's kind of like what I'm trying to do with spaceconstitution.com. Although now I have to recertify the nonprofit thing because they found something they didn't like in the original filing and I have to send it in. Hey, who doesn't love the IRS? So the point is this. The point is this, guys. I think SSI in a long-term situation will continue to grow. But SSI and SSDI are both going to run into a wall. I got another article where they just figured out how to build an amazing bionic eye, giving sight to people who don't have sight. And now we're running out of the option of blind people. It's not just mentally impaired, physically impaired, and blind. It'll just be mentally impaired, physically impaired. Blind won't even be a category. All of these disability programs are running into a wall. And that is, in the next 50 years, there will be no disability programs. There won't, because they'll be able to fix most medical issues. So I think SSI is going to overtake SSDI benefits. I think they'll both hit the wall and then they'll shrink and then disappear for those things that can be fixed until basically there's nothing left that can't be fixed, medically speaking, of course. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you a little bit later. Thanks for taking a step inside my ear, through my brain, and out the other side. And have a wonderful day. Also, remember, please like, subscribe, and leave 5 stars. Those really help me out, the 5 stars. They're in the bio below. Also, I go live every Thursday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. When you call in, the phone number below, 8 to 10 p.m., make sure you use your fake name. All right? Have an absolutely wonderful day, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.